Yep. All right, folks. Welcome to the championship game of the 2025 U.S. Nationals. NTFA in red, working left to right. The number 1 seed. Chicago Mad Dogs in green, working right to left. Ben Patton, shot. That was Espinoza. Stopped it. Couldn't find it. Stuck his head in. And Folick just poked it between his legs. Espinoza's checking to see. I think he's asking the referee, can he go in? You can stick your stick in there. You just can't walk in there. Yeah. So NTFA with a quick lead, 30 seconds in. NTFA going for their 5th national championship. Chicago Mad Dogs looking for their first. Derek Moser. Dackets changed over. Moser intercepts. Going the other way. 3-on-2. Moser beats to Nick Gray. Nick tries to get it through. Descamolo with the stick block. Nick Gray again. Looking for somebody. Decides to retreat. Nico Gray over to Moser. Moser feeds it down below. Branham. Davidson in the corner, guarded by Toretta. Shot off Gray. Gray's working it around. Back to Nico Gray. Nick Gray. Over to Moser. Voltalina gives chase. And Moser will walk it back and reset. Gray can never get control of it. Turnover. Adam Tackix for NTFA. Holds it. We get a change. Brenham's not letting up. Staying on him pretty hard. And Tackix finally drops it to Matt Nunez. As NTFA completes their change. Chicago gets a change as well. Van Patten, shot off Espinoza's wrist, stays in play. Folick going down with him. Moser, deflected out by Addington. Your referees for this gold medal game is assigned by USA Floorball, Tyler Radical and Josh Winder. Nick Van Patten walking in for NTFA. Leading 1-0, 3 minutes into the national championship. Over to Isaac Angersteig. Angersteig to Folick. Swept out by Z for Chicago. It'll be NTFA ball. While this isn't the Chicago Dogs A team, there are a couple of members of the Chicago Dogs team on this. But the Mad Dogs have been, whether it's Chicago Bulldogs or the Mad Dogs, NTFA and Chicago are two of the most respected and largest clubs in the U.S. And they have recently been making a field day out of playing each other in key tournaments. I have to go back and look, but I believe this is the 3rd straight national championship game featuring North Texas and Chicago in some form. Try to drops for Angersteig. Van Patten. Knocks it ahead. Addington on the run with Toretta. Addington wins the fight by pulling the ball over to the wall. Chicago gets back in. Toretta gets the inside position. He's working on the ball. Addington not giving an inch. Gets it away. Noble over on Angersteig. Addington now gets back on Angersteig. Toretta tries to get it ahead. Pish knocks it away. So both sides changed, and we're going here with a new line on both sides. Matt Nunez and Irolunki. Perennial back pair for NTFA. Espinoza gets it on the draw. Here is Nick Gray. Puts a move on tactics. Gets past him. Carries it around back of the net. Tries to center it. Lunky's on it. Lunky flips it out. And Nico Gray is there. Sails it back to Davidson. Davidson cross. Brenham sends it back to Gray. Back to Brenham. Zivkovic can't keep anything on it, and then Gray comes back and gets it. NTFA keeping pressure on. Brenham with the ball. Takes it down to the corner to Davidson. Davidson around to Gray. Nunez on Gray for NTFA. Gray reverses. Gets it to Brenham. Bodelainen. And Chicago successfully repels the charge and then gets a change while they're in front. Nico sends it long for Evan Pish. Pish by himself. Sends it back for Nico Gray. Over to Keene Addington. Works around Folick. Derek Moser, wide shot. Pish pulls it behind the net. Chicago starting to take those swings at the net. Under 6 minutes to go in the first. Deflected by NTFA. Shot. Shot deflected in front. Folick works it up to Angersteig. Angersteig brings it across the line. Carries up the boards. Turns. Drops back for Toretta. To Maliki. Toretta. Angersteig all the way across to Van Patten. Shot. Saved by Espinoza. Keene Addington will bring it up to the boards. Angersteig knocks him off. There'll be a foul. Mad Dog's ball. So drop for Nico Gray. Shot in front. Blocked. Pish controls. Angersteig takes it. Walks out of traffic. Drops for Folick. NTFA gets a bit of a change. Van Patten draws it back. Pursued by Nico Gray. Tries to get it up. Noble flicks it out. Turnover. NTFA's ball right in front of the Chicago bench. 4 minutes to go in the first period of this 1-0 national championship game. Bodelainen sails it over. Chicago will bring it in. Moser. Moser gets it part of the way. Here comes Gray. Gray leads it ahead. Ethan Van Patten is on it. Brings it in, decides what to do. Gives it to Yuri. Yuri Cascamalo behind the line. Behind the net for NTFA. Feeds it in front. Big mistake, turnover. Combination of Brenham having a little trouble holding it. And Van Patten getting back quick. And that keeps it out of the net for NTFA. Van Patten with numbers. Cascamala. Saved by Espinoza. He gets back out. 2:56 to go in the first. Nick Gray back. Chicago reset. Bodelainen. Headmans it up. Nobody home. NTFA will retake it down in the corner. NTFA gets a change. Irolunki coming in to pick it up. Chicago defense is there. Angerstig has to retreat behind his own net. He brings it ahead to Folick. Chicago blocks. Can't control the outlet. Angerstig changes direction. Comes around the middle. Long shot. Tipped. Not sure if it was tipped wide, but tipped certainly by Espinoza. Centered. Van Patten missed. Down to the corner to Folick. Under 2 minutes to play in the first. Angerstig shot. Save for Espinoza. Directs it up over the crease. Over the goal box, I mean. AZ works it forward. Evan Pish battling Angerstig. Wins the battle. Sends it back to Addington. Addington changes direction. Over to Pish. Shot on goal. Van Patten. Toretta knocks it out. Looks like Pish got Ethan Van Patten's hand. Bit of a stinger when that happens. Chicago inbounds. As we hit the 1 minute mark to go in the first period, Davidson down on the wall. Taken away by Van Patten. Davidson gets it back. Tries to walk it in. Nothing there. Van Patten across the back. Knocked out by Brenham. Going to be NTFA ball. .36 seconds to go. NTFA sending it in from the corner. .22 seconds to go. Maliki behind the net. Being pursued. Van Patten content to carry it. 15 seconds left. Takix on the boards. Tipped by Nick Gray. Zivkovic up. Maliki picks it back. Takix over to the wall. 6 seconds to go. Into the corner. Nico Gray wrests it loose. And that's going to do it for the first period, with NTFA getting an early goal 30 seconds in. And Chicago Mad Dogs still looking for their first. After one, NTFA 1, Chicago Mad Dogs 0. We'll be right back with the second period. All right, folks, we're back for the second period. Chicago wins the draw, down 1-0. Feeds ahead for Pish. Fish centers. Great center to Derek Moser. Blocked by NTFA, and NTFA comes back. NTFA drops and hangs it and sets up. Lunke up towards. Into the corner. Brings it all the way around. Angersteig loses it. Noble chases him lightly back. Folix misses to the right. Angersteig back over to Tretta. NTFA will try again. Folix with a good stop on a bouncing ball. Shot it right into the 5-hole. Espinoza rose to the challenge. Last time it was a rebound. The one goal that we've given up, he's given up as a rebound that just stayed loose in the slot. Van Patten wide. Here goes Pish up the line. Referee thought about it, pulled it back. That one looked painful, folks. Uh-oh. They're looking at power. We lost the scoreboard. We kicked the cord apart downstairs, apparently. Stand by a second. Looks like it just came unplugged. So I think we're back. And NTFA takes it on the free hit call. Only one mic. You out? Okay. So, folks, we're going to have a treat. Trent Kling has come up, and he's going to finish the broadcast because I have to go down and give trophies out at the end of the day. So I'm going to give it to Trent. Take it away, Trent.
Appreciate it, Brian. Thank you so much. Appreciate Jeff helping out on the controls here. Yari Vodolainen takes it in the corner for North Texas. NTFA currently leading 1-0. We've got 10 minutes left in the second period. Nunez settles at the point, and back it goes far wing to Adam Takix. Takix to Nunez. And now Chicago will get a partial change on the fly. In the corner, Nico Gray battling for Chicago. The ball pops loose. Here's A.J. Maliki. His shot deflected inside. And Javi, the netminder for the Mad Dogs, controls. Keen Addington, the fourth, by his Team USA teammate, Isaac Angerstig, who topples into the boards. Addington spins with it, loses it off of the stick of Landon Van Patten and out. So it will be Mad Dogs ball. It's played up through center by NTFA. Sorry, we're trying to get rosters loaded here, so thus the periods of silence. Folek looking for Angerstig. Now Ryan Folek pumps a shot. It's blocked down by Derek Mosier, the coach of the USA Under-19 team. Plays it behind the net, and quickly Landon Van Patten in on it. Turns it to Maliki. Back to Van Patten. Van Patten turns, a good spin against the long reach of Addington. Now here's Maliki, thinks about a shot. Tried to funnel it into the inside to Isaac Angerstig. Instead, dishes off to Folek. Folek along the half boards. Watched over by Mosier. Attempts a shot. It bobbles off of his stick. Mosier lofts it deep for Addington. But Landon Van Patten, good use of the body to knock the ball away. Now the Mad Dogs recover. And Derek Mosier will slow things down for Chicago. The Mad Dogs with about half of their usual Chicago Dogs team at this tournament and the other half traditional Mad Dogs, or the traditional Mad Dogs team. They've been helped out a little bit by Jonas Davidson as well, who's from the Austin area in this tournament. They had 10 players to begin, down to 9, so can only do partial changes. They're not shifting one for one. Nick Van Patten holds for NTFA. NTFA's had about 65% of possession to this point in the game, and they lead 1-0. Jari Voutilainen back to Van Patten. NTFA loves to get the interior passes from the pockets, and the Mad Dogs have largely taken that away. Jonas Davidson pops it into the air. Here's Nick Gray. Gray controlling on his backhand. Goes one-on-one against Lunke, Euro Lunke for NTFA. And here's a shovel attempt out in the crease. That was nearly a mess, and they will call interference against the Mad Dogs. They say either Davidson or Wayne Brenneman was in the crease. Brenneman, another guy not originally from Chicago, but from the northeastern United States. Fulick plays to Angerstig. Both of them have donned Team USA colors in the past. Fulick for the U19s, Angerstig for both the U19s and the USA men. That shot fired high and wide. Both of these teams getting to the championship round after semifinal victories. The Mad Dogs took down Austin 3-2 after trailing 2-0 early in that contest. And meanwhile, NTFA scored a 4-0 victory against Colorado. The ball pops loose. Here's Maliki. He and Nico Gray were fighting for it. The ball bouncing inside. Maliki wanted a penalty. I think it'll just be a free hit because neither player had clear possession. So no penalty, just a free hit here. There's a quick pass from Nunez to Angerstig, who finds Landon Van Patten on the far side. Now Brenneman looks ahead for Gray. Gray handles himself into the corner. Couldn't quite squeeze a shot off, but now here's Addington. Passes it back door. Brenneman feeds it up. And now comes back to Gray. In the corner, Nunez with it. It's pulled away by Nick Gray. And Maliki steals for NTFA. Chicago with the steal. Here's Addington. Plays it off to the far side. Spinning, turning with it, feeding it back to Gray. Gray looking interior for Addington. That was a hopeful pass. It was stolen by NTFA. And here comes Voutilainen. Past a drop stick, looking for Takach's backdoor. And it goes off the end boards and wide. Takach recovers into the corner. And back it comes to Nick Van Patten. Nick Van Patten trying to wheel behind the cage, and Nico Gray called on an infraction, so free hit for NTFA. Van Patten comfortably to Takach. Voutilainen looking inside. It's stolen away, and this is Evan Pish with it. Pish looking up the boards to Noble. Checks Noble, fires it wide. Landon Van Patten hasn't been tested all that much here in the second period. About 3 minutes left. Takach's attempted shot off the heel of his stick, but Henry Keskamala first there on it. Takach looking inside, looking for Keskamala, but it's knocked out by Gray. Takach and Gray both having represented the U19s in the past for the United States. Free hit to Landon Van Patten looked inside for Folick. Comes instead to Angerstig. Back up to Van Patten. And he has it stolen away by Gray. Van Patten wanted a call. None forthcoming. Gray stumbles. And Lunke back to take of his own accord. Feeds it to Van Patten. Landon Van Patten looks. Angerstig on the overlap down the near boards. Angerstig back to Van Patten. Landon Van Patten calmly up to Keskamala, and back it comes to Landon Van Patten, open for a shot, but instead feeds to Folick, who scores. Landon Van Patten loves to tee it up from there, but that time faked the shot, came around on the sweep, and kicked it into the slot for Folick, who made no mistake. Top right corner, nothing the netminder Javi Espinoza could do about it. And it's 2-0 NTFA with 2:04 left to play in the second period. Mad Dogs trying to find a solution offensively. This game they've had mostly to play defense against NTFA's highly structured, highly controlled style. Maliki feeds forward. Here's Vodolainen. Vodolainen off his foot, watched over by Mosier. Mosier sweeping there, behind the net. Takic looking in front. Keskamala trying to open up, but instead it's fed back to the point. Dan Toretta nearly whiffs on his pass to Maliki. Fires a diagonal across to Takic, and back it comes to Toretta. Toretta just trying to slow things down onto Maliki. And back to Keskamala. Cross floor pass. Vodolainen feeds to Toretta. His shot just wide. You don't see NTFA take a ton of shots from the point, but that time Toretta had the green light, or felt he did. Vodolainen in front to Keskamala. His shot blocked away by Derek Mosier. Keskamala fighting for it with Keane Addington, and Addington's reach wins out. It's fed along the far boards for Pish. Pish looking inside, a ball nearly volleyed towards the cage by Czech Noble, but instead well over the crossbar, and it'll be an NTFA free hit. Under a minute to play in the second, and with the 2-0 lead, they are in no hurry. The clock will stop within 2 minutes of the end of the third period if the game is still within 3. But right now, the clock just running, and NTFA likely to look for the last offensive opportunity and the last shot. It's Van Patten. Up the boards, Landon Van Patten from Nick Van Patten. Landon continues to sweep. Here's Angerstig's shot, well wide of the net. Folick collects. Here's Van Patten, a wraparound, and he scores. He's so explosive from behind the net. And Espinoza got turned around. He was expecting that ball to pop out on his left side, but Van Patten intercepted it beforehand, and the quick wrap into the back of the net for Landon Van Patten gives NTFA a 3-0 lead. 18 seconds remaining in the second period. And trying to win the faceoff forward was Angerstig. Snuffed out by the Mad Dogs. Nick Gray in the near corner. Back it comes. NTFA's Nick Van Patten pokes it forward. Angerstig to Landon Van Patten with a few seconds left, just fired it on net. And Espinoza through to center. That shot not on cage in time. And here at the championship game of 2025 USA Floorball Nationals, the score 3-0. NTFA leading the Chicago Mad Dogs. Ryan Folick got the first goal of the game at 11:30 of the first period from Landon Van Patten. Van Patten also assisting on Folick's second goal of the game at 2:04 of the second period. And then Landon Van Patten himself scoring from Folick with 18 seconds left in the second period to give NTFA a 3-0 lead. The shots so far for Chicago, 8 shots on net, and many of those coming in the first period. And for the Mad Dogs, 10 shots faced from NTFA shooters. So I will take, personally, a quick break for the intermission. We'll come back for the third period. You're watching the U.S. Nationals Championship game on the USA Floorball YouTube channel. We're back in time for the third period where the score 3-0 NTFA over the Chicago Mad Dogs here at 2025 U.S. Nationals in Georgetown, Texas, the beautiful campus of Georgetown University. And the Mad Dogs with first possession off of the opening face-off. Centering pass deflected off a stick. And really the Mad Dogs, their issue starting in the second period but continuing so far here into the third is just the ability to settle it down offensively. A lot of balls popping off of sticks, not a lot of settled offensive play, and credit NTFA for that. Hard on-ball pressure has forced a number of turnovers by the Mad Dogs and counterattacks for NTFA going the other way. Keene Addington begins the period with a shot wide of the net. NTFA recovers. A good exchange between Maliki and Nick Van Patten. NTFA looking for yet another Nationals win to add to their trophy case. Mad Dogs, this would be their first if they were to come back and achieve victory. Takic in the far corner. It's knocked away by Pish. Up the boards he goes with it. It's eventually recovered by Noble. And they play it through center. Here's Addington trying to meg Maliki, who has none of it. Good foot for A.J. Maliki. And now Vodolainen turns. Has Angerstig off the bench. Plays it deep for Angerstig. He against his Team USA teammate, Derek Mosier. Landon Van Patten coming in, firing a shot. That's off a body and wide. Keene Addington now turns. Has Mosier on the overlap near side. Mosier, cross-court pass. Pish's shot, and that is handled easily by Ethan Van Patten and into the corner. Lunke takes, and here's Isaac Angerstig. Over to Landon Van Patten, and a great save by Espinoza. Got over there, it went off of his mask, and now he'll look off the bench to Brenneman. Brenneman inside. Finds Jonas Davidson. Nick Gray a shot, and that's deflected out by Ethan Van Patten. I don't know for sure, but I would wager Ethan will probably win goaltender of the tournament here. And I think there's two rules of thought, or two lines of thought, when I talk about that award with other folks, and some are saying, well, it should go to the netminder maybe that faced the hardest road or had to make the best saves, and some say that it should be based off of save percentage or just number of goals conceded. And if you go by the latter measure, I think Ethan certainly deserving of the award. But here's the thing is, Ethan has also been equal to the task whenever he's been called upon. So even though he hasn't had the most work to do of any goaltender in the tournament, just like that last opportunity on that 3-on-2, he's been able to make the saves that have propelled NTFA forward. Going shoulder to shoulder, Zivkovic fighting against Nunez. Now into the corner, Brenneman. He'll exchange with Gray. Brenneman looking inside, had nothing in the slot area. All three Mad Dogs forwards were down in the slot, and that shot from the point from Gray through a screen, and Van Patten able to paw it to the corner. He's looking down at his hands like I might should have caught that, but nonetheless a good save by Ethan Van Patten to explode out of his stance once he caught that ball coming through the screen. And a tricky shot by Nico Gray too. We should note that shot on net was a well taken one. On the far side, a shot from Pish, and that is going to be gobbled up by Ethan Van Patten every time. Vodolainen trying to exchange with Takic. It's stolen away by Mosier, but that ball turned over to Maliki. Maliki through the middle. Maliki one-on-one with the keeper and fires it wide. AJ looking skyward. This ball handled by Maliki after the Mad Dogs free hit coming from Keene Addington. Keskamala over to Vodolainen. Vodolainen battling with Mosier, turns it over, but then the Mad Dogs turn it right back. Keskamala attempted, I believe, a shot, but it went off of the heel of his stick. He's checking his blade as he gets back on defense, and Espinoza took it off of the boards. Mad Dogs dump it in. Toretta turning with it, finds Takic. Takic up to Keskamala. The pass a little bit behind Henry, and he's able to find Dan Toretta. Turns back to Keskamala in the slot, the shot, and Espinoza gobbles that up and now fires it deep to Keene Addington. Addington trying to look for room on Lunke, goes between his legs, shot wide. Coretta trying to calm things down for NTFA by taking on two Mad Dogs. Now spins out of that double team, but the third guy got him. It was eventually taken away by Pish. Now Mosier behind the net, played on to Zivkovic. Zivkovic, hounded by Landon Van Patten, eventually finds the stick of Mosier. Mosier looking for a target, and really no one moving for the Mad Dogs. They're letting Mosier do the majority of the work here, and finally they're able to break it out along the far wing where the two forwards were, but it's turned over, and right back comes Angerstig. Keen Addington, a good back check, but then has it stolen away by Folick. Folick tried to kick it up the boards to Angerstig. It's deflected by Mosier, comes to Landon Van Patten behind the net. Now Folick able to calm things down with 6 minutes left to play in the third period. Landon Van Patten looking for a return feed to Angerstig, stolen away by the Mad Dogs, and Pish just wants to feed it all the way down the floor to get a change in. The ball up for Landon Van Patten, a good foot save there by Javi Espinoza. It's played one-on-one between Gray and Angerstig, and now it's Nick Gray taking over the battle from Nico Gray. Nico Gray pinching in from his D spot, off a foot to Landon Van Patten at center. Landon Van Patten turns away, looks underneath for Nick Van Patten. Nick Van Patten around the net, kicks it underneath to Landon. Three players all within a stone's throw of the net for NTFA. Folick handling to Takic. Takic back to Folick. In front, the shot, and that's blocked down by Mosier and skittered just wide. Maliki has to go back to regroup after the Mad Dogs clear their their defensive end. Takic back to Maliki, and here's Matt Nunez for NTFA. Nunez puts it in deep. Mosier battling one-on-one. Vodolainen wins that battle for the time being. Vodolainen turns against a double team, fires a pass to an open area of the floor. Keskamala first there, puts it off the stick of Nico Gray and out. So it's NTFA ball. They'll feed it in from the far dot on their offensive end. Takic in the corner, working one-on-one against Nico Gray. Gray wins the battle. And Keen Addington slows things down for the Mad Dogs. Time running low if they want to get a goal to get them back in this. But instead, it's stolen by NTFA, and Vodolainen checks it back to Nunez. Vodolainen looks inside, fires a shot, and it's blocked by the shoulder of Mosier. NTFA regroups. Inside look from Vodolainen to Takic. Takic knows he doesn't have a shot there against Mosier. He's played solid defense this third period for the Mad Dogs and just kicks the ball out. It'll be to NTFA, who will take the sub. And again, over 2 minutes remaining in the third, so time continuing to run off the clock. They'll kill about 15 seconds off of the clock here just by changing. No hurry whatsoever for NTFA, although credit to them, they're still taking offensive looks when they can. That shot fired off the leg of Mosier. 3 block shots in the last minute for Mosier. Leakey over to Landon Van Patten. They'll cycle through. Back to Maliki. 3:23 remaining in the third. Time running low for the Mad Dogs. This pass inside and fired home. Folick to Angerstig, who has his first of the championship game. Isaac Angerstig puts it between the legs of Espinoza, who had very little opportunity on that. That was a shot taken with high velocity. NTFA told me, the NTFA team, or teammates, told me before the game against Colorado that they wanted largely to constrain their offensive looks to one-timers, and to an extent they've held to that against the Mad Dogs here, although some opportunities have come off of other chances. But in that circumstance, they get a goal opportunity off of a one-timer and convert to make it a 4-0 game with 3:16 remaining in the third period. I want to thank Jeff once again at the controls for us today. He's been doing a great job. I've heard all tournament long. I've not been up here all tournament long because I've been busy playing and or coaching, but also appreciate Brian Radical for doing everything he does for USA Floorball and taking the reins on the broadcast up until this point. We're giving him a little bit of a chance to go down and handle the trophy ceremony here. 3:16 remaining in the third period. And the face-off coming after the goal by Angerstig. Mad Dogs had taken a timeout, and they come back with the lineup of Jonas Davidson, who hasn't seen much playing time here in the third period, along with Keane Addington and Nick Gray up front, Nico Gray and Derek Mosier on the back end. The five out there for the Mad Dogs: Angerstig, Fulick, Landon Van Patten, along with Iro Lunke and Dan Toretta. The five out there for the Mad Dogs coming out of the timeout. Or five out there for NTFA, pardon me, after the timeout. It's run forward by Zivkovic. Zivkovic is off the bench as the sixth attacker now that Espinoza is out of the net. Lunke puts it deep. Here's Van Patten. Landon Van Patten turns and fires it just wide of the cage. Zivkovic comes over to recover for the Mad Dogs. And now Mosier will work it up. 2:35 remaining in the third period. Gray into the far corner. Zivkovic looking into the slot. Gray takes a shot. It's blocked down by Fulick. Landon Van Patten stole it for a second. Now it's taken back by Keane Addington, who scores! Rips a shot, and Ethan Van Patten. It was a goalie. You always want to grab the shutout here. And you could tell Van Patten, even though that goal, not super material as far as the potential outcome of this, he wanted that shutout and unable to come up high for the save. So the face-off after the Mad Dogs goal. 4-1 now the score, and the Mad Dogs once again pull their goalie Espinoza. Davidson back to Mosier. Those two teammates on the Texas 39ers of the NAFL last year. Mosier up top finds Gray at far wing. Nothing there for Gray. Mishandles. Keskamala able to bat the ball away. Gray tied up by Maliki, and Maliki able to use his strength to feed the ball to center. Mosier and Gray fighting with it. Jari Vodolainen. And eventually the Mad Dogs grab the loose ball. 1:30 now remaining in the third period. That's all that separates NTFA from another national championship. Keane Addington, the fourth. Mosier finds Gray. Gray's shot off of the thigh of Nick Van Patten, who is in position to block. Gray's able to kick it to Jonas Davidson, who fires a shot that's comfortably handled by Ethan Van Patten. Fires it down the floor. It's taken by Nick Van Patten, and he'll score. Ethan Van Patten grabbing the goalie assist on that. Nick Van Patten seals the deal with 1:09 remaining in the third period. Nick has been moved back to a defensive role for this particular tournament, and as a result, has not factored on the scoreboard as much as he has in past tournaments. He's won tournament MVPs and high scorer of the tournament before. This tournament, coming into this game, 5 assists is what they have him for and 5 points. But that is his first goal of the tournament. Nick Van Patten doing so much for NTFA and really the floorball culture in North Texas in general. Helps to head up some of the youth programs there and helps to kind of direct traffic with NTFA. Is one of the reasons why there's such a robust floorball culture in North Texas. Landon Van Patten with it in the far corner, under a minute to play. NTFA leading 5-1 over the Mad Dogs here in the championship game. Angerstig holds. Wanted the cross pass to Landon Van Patten, but wasn't given that opportunity, and now it's popped free. Addington, the fourth, looks inside. This ball off the side of the cage, handled by Brenneman. Back it comes to Keane Addington. Addington looks in front. The ball bounces around. Kicked down by Nunez, and it'll be cleared up through center. Clock stops with 19 seconds remaining in the third period. It'll continue to run now as the scorekeeper realizes that it's a 4-goal game. So 12 seconds left here. A pass over to the far wing, intercepted. And now Ryan Folick will bring up with 6 seconds and now 5 left. Landon Van Patten looking backdoor for Isaac Angerstig. Has Kamala in deep to recover for NTFA. And they are the 2025 national champions. 5-1 the score, and maybe not as demonstrative a celebration this go round as it has been in the past. It was a very, I would say, comfortable tournament for NTFA. They were tested in the round robin by the Mad Dogs, but not really tested throughout the course of the playoffs, earning 4-goal victories in each of the semifinals and the championship game. We'll keep the video feed on through the trophy celebration, but I will take my leave. No need for me to narrate the trophy presentation. I think we can all see that. Once again, for Jeff on the controls, I'm Trent Kling saying so long. You've been watching the 2025 USA Floorball National Championship.
So please stick around. So congratulations on most points, even at brothers stick together. That's the only team we have. And our last individual award, most valuable player. This don't stop because this is not just a tackle. In March, on with the part. Well, if you have promise, we have